Today's episode of the BS Podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek, our presenting sponsor, the only fan-friendly app for buying and selling tickets for sports and music. Other sites have the nasty habit of showing you lower prices, charging you huge fees at checkout. At SeatGeek, the price you see, always the price you pay. Download the free SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Today's podcast is also brought to you by the helicopter flying over our office. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Starry Station, the world's best touchscreen router for blazing fast Wi-Fi. I want this. It's designed to give you a better and smarter way to stream and surf throughout your home. It even has parental controls and easy ways to make support calls. Say goodbye to Wi-Fi problems and blinking lights. Control your Wi-Fi on your own. Learn more about Starry Station at starry.com/BS. My new HBO show is called Any Given Wednesdays. It launches on Wednesday, June 22nd at 10 p.m. Follow the show at facebook.com/anygivenweds. And let's not forget about The Ringer, which is launching sooner than you think. Subscribe to the newsletter at theringer.com and download our new Ringer MLB show, which we launched yesterday with me, Jacko, and Mallory Rubin. Let's do it.
Yeah. Clear enough for you? All right. Yeah.
I can't think of a better day for this guy to be here. You just happen to be in town. It's karma. It's destiny. Joe Lacob doesn't believe in karma. He believes in bragging when his team has 7 losses at the end of March, and they are 14-7. Haralabos Voulgaris, the world's greatest basketball gambler, one of the top 100.
For sure, top 1,000.
You did not see this OKC thing coming 5-6 weeks ago because I emailed you.
You emailed me and
I said, hey, they're 40-1. Any chance? And then we were both like, no way.
Yeah, I think I gave you a one-word response. No.
Yeah. And now they're a different team. It's like they went into a car wash, got clean, and came out, and they became the team that we've wanted this team. The OKC fans are yelling at us and complaining, and, oh, you said this, you said that. It's like, this is why we were complaining. We knew this team was here, and they weren't getting there. What's changed for you?
A lot of things, I guess. I mean, first of all, so this team, like, they went to the Western Conference on 4 of the last 6 years or something like that, right?
Yeah, they've had success.
Yeah. So it is not surprising that they're good. I mean, they're supposed to be good. They have Durant, they have Westbrook, and then they have Ibaka, and they have Steven Adams. But then they don't really have very much else, in my opinion.
Neither of us like Cantor or Waiters that much. I still had, in my heart, I liked Waiters.
Yeah, I never liked Waiters.
They
I still don't
they just turned him into sticking him in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's not someone who you want to like handle the ball. I mean, I ragged on them. Why is Dion Waiters inbounding the ball? Why do you have him inbounding the ball? And then the thing happened with the Ginobili thing and then the other one. So I mean, he's played so well. He's hitting shots. A lot of these problems that I thought he had kind of go away when you hit shots. Same thing with Roberson. Roberson is hitting shots. Roberson is always a good defender. I never ever thought Roberson wasn't a good defender. He just wasn't a good offensive player.
Is it Roberson or Roberson? Because I do it both.
Roberson.
They changed it to Roberson?
It's both.
They always called him Roberson, and then he was like, it's Roberson.
It's like the Thibodeau thing. I still call him Roberson, but I think it's Roberson.
Okay. Well, he was Roberson.
Well, and now he's should have make threes.
Now he's making threes. So
when he makes threes, it's something has gone horribly wrong.
Yeah. I mean, he banked the corner 3 in one of the games in the playoffs. He banked it in from the corner. That's hard to do.
Well, all right. So but they figured out some of the things that we complained about, right? They staggered Durant and Westbrook.
That was a huge thing. Staggering.
They figured out a couple good lineups. The small ball lineup that they've had the last 3 games with basically Durant at the 4, Ibaka at the 5. I've wanted that for a while.
Or Cantor, or Adams at the 5.
Or Adams at the 5, but Durant at the 4, playing two-way and rebounding and protecting the rim. It's always been there for him. They've never really totally made him do this.
So there's a couple things. Obviously, the number one thing is I was just wrong. That's possible. It's probably likely. I thought Billy Donovan was a horrible coach.
Me too.
And if you watch the first 2 months of the season, you'd be pretty hard pressed to say, wow, this guy really knows what he's doing coaching basketball.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of things. One could be he was trying different things that were see what would work, treating regular season as a laboratory.
That was in the Lee Jenkins piece. And now I don't know if this is 100% true, but they were basically, Donovan's like, I tried a whole bunch of different things. Sam Preston and I talked about it. I said some of this stuff won't work, but I want to try different things and see what we have.
Yeah. Some of the things that were for me, like my first impression of Billy Donovan, because I don't watch college, was a game between the Bulls and the Thunder, which I had a bet on. And generally, like I hate this coach, I'm just being honest, stems from this guy cost me money or something like that, right? That's where it usually starts. Because you know, you sit there and you gamble for a living, you watch these games. You're not necessarily the most even, you don't give the most even takes in some ways. So I watched this game, and they were down 5, I believe, with like 30 seconds left. Chicago had the ball, up 5, 24-second shot clock, and they just didn't foul. And he was sitting there and he was telling his guys to, like, they were going to play it out. I don't know what they were going to do. They were going to hope to get a stop. It might have been like 37 seconds left, and they were going to get a stop and be down 5 with 12 seconds. So I was just like, what is this guy doing? I don't understand what he's doing.
He had a lot of moments like that.
Yeah, and there were some moments also at the end of games where the players were looking to him to call a play, and he just looked like he was lost. And maybe he was lost. I mean, look, it's tough to go from college to the NBA. It's tough to coach those two players also because they're both transcendent players. And so, there's a lot of pressure there, I think. But that being said, if you were only to look at the playoffs only and look at this team and look at the changes they made and the type of adjustments on the fly and the way they've changed their roster lineup configuration and game plan for each opponent, you would say this is not a good coaching job. This is a great coaching job.
I agree.
They went big versus the Spurs.
Yeah, I think it started midway through the Spurs series.
Yeah.
I noticed, I really genuinely feel like in game 4, their entire destiny was going to go one way or the other, and they were super snippy.
Yeah.
Second, third quarter, Westbrook wasn't playing defense at all. I remember tweeting about it. He just wasn't trying. Ibaka seemed like he had checked out, and there came this moment there, and Durant was just like, I'm not going to let this happen. And he took over the fourth quarter. And from that moment on, it was like everything fell into place. The Kanter-Adams lineup fell into place. Ibaka, who'd just been marginalized, he looked like Ibaka last night.
Yeah,
That's the guy I've been waiting for him to come back for 3 years. Like, he was all over the place last night.
Yeah. They're all hitting their shots,
clicked,
too.
They're making shots.
Yeah, they're all hitting, like, Waiters is hitting shots. Robertson is hitting shots. Durant is always hitting shots. Westbrook, the thing, like, that they have going for them is like, they have such a simple... They can run such simple offense. They've always run such simple offense because they have such 2 great half-court players. But like they just clear out with Westbrook, and then he just goes so fast into the paint and then just passes it to someone. It's like they run that play where they just clear out and he just runs as fast as he can, like from a dead stop to a start, and they get like a cut to the basket. I think the main thing for them was just shortening the rotation. That's like the biggest thing. Kanter only played 8 minutes yesterday, or 9 minutes. He didn't play hardly at all the previous game as well.
There was a game in the Spurs series where he just played 8 guys, and I was like, he's getting it.
Yeah.
This is what you do. It's the playoffs. Play 8 guys or 9 guys. You don't need 10. You don't need 11.
And some player, I mean, that's where they have a real luxury in that they have Ibaka, they have Adams, they have Westbrook, and they have Durant. Those aren't just 4 good players, but those are 4 players who can play a lot of minutes. I mean, Westbrook is durable. He's been injured the last few years, but before that, he never got injured. He doesn't look like, if you ever watched a game and saw like Westbrook pulling on his shorts or something, and he looks like he's fatigued. Yeah, he doesn't look like he's fatigued ever.
Yeah.
So, it's fun to watch. I mean, for me, you want them to not succeed in some ways because you want to be right, but I'm not like that. I'm actually like, wow, this is exciting. I watched his press conference yesterday and I was like, this is awesome.
We both love basketball.
Yeah.
And part of the reason we were so frustrated by this team was they had 2 of the best players in the league and a bunch of interesting pieces, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they figured it out. Have you, like, the pace that they're playing at, is it a different level of pace? Because it feels to me like they are just like...
Yeah, they're playing way faster than they were. And they played fast for a portion of the regular season, but they're playing way faster than... I mean, not last game, but the previous game, game 3, I think they used about 7 seconds every defensive rebound. That's how long their possessions were, 7.5 or maybe 8 seconds. Some number that made me just scratch my head. They scored like 1.3 points off of every defensive rebound that they got, and then they were only using 8 or 9 seconds or 7 seconds to get into their offense, which is fast. Most teams, I mean, there's not very many teams that are playing that fast.
And that started in the Spurs series. And that was one of the things when it made me wonder if Donovan was starting to figure it out. you could hear him like faster, go,
Yeah,
move,
every coach
pace,
does
pace,
that though.
pace.
If you
But
watch,
he was
yeah,
really
every
pushing
coach.
them.
If you watch Spoelstra's like a windmill, like moving his arms, go.
Dwayne
But
Wade's like, no, I'm good.
yeah, so I think that's something that every coach on the sidelines tries to do is try to go faster. To me, just the main thing was like versus the Spurs, they played big and that worked, and then versus Golden State, they basically just abandoned Cantor because Cantor was not going to be able to defend anybody who could run pick and roll, and for whatever reason, the Spurs didn't run pick and roll. They didn't have anyone that they thought could run pick and roll.
Creator. Like once Parker wasn't playing well, who else is going to do it, man?
But they could have ran pick and roll with Manu. They could have ran some pick and roll with Kawhi. They could have done some things, I think, that would have made that series a little bit more competitive for them. They could like the adjustments they made, I thought were tough because like going to Boban, that just seemed like and then Andre Miller and then Kevin Martin, just like the stuff that they did in the last game, the elimination game when they came back, it was just kind of like, wow, I think Pop kind of saw the writing that they weren't going to out athletic this team. This team was just too fast, too strong, too big.
It came down to that game 5 for them.
Yeah.
Like Westbrook just was out of his mind, and they couldn't handle his athleticism. I look at this Thunder team. We've been waiting for it really since 12. The first time they made it, when they were just too fast, too athletic, too young, too everything for the Spurs. And they just weren't ready for the finals yet. They trade Harden. Bad luck. They never kind of had the right team with the right pieces. But to me, like the key to everything, other than just Durant, Westbrook being healthy, is just that Adams is really good all of a sudden.
Yeah, Adams is playing great.
I got to admit, like it wasn't like I watched 100 Oklahoma City games this year, but I feel like I watched a pretty good sample size of them. I didn't see the Adams thing coming. I liked him. I thought he was a good role player. This guy's like changing games. I did not see that happening.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's played good all year for them, but some of the plays that he's making on offense are, he's not just setting screens, he's rolling. Then when he gets the ball, he's making the right decision. He's changing the game on defense. He's bringing like physical. The thing about him that makes it so tough is, and I think this is the part where you really see it in a playoff series, is like the level of energy you have to expend just keeping him off the glass. Yes. I think that's something Draymond Green was not prepared for.
No.
And, everyone, that was kind of like the thing where you could kind of get Golden State when Golden State goes to their, quote unquote, death lineup, is they don't have a lot of rebounding size with that death lineup. They have a lot of athletes. Curry's a pretty good rebounder for his size, or a great rebounder. Iguodala's a good rebounder. Barnes is okay. But like, they don't have someone to actually get rebounds. And so I really thought that a team could really, if they wanted to go to that death lineup, that's something you could really, you have to go for every offensive rebound against that team, because it stops the Golden State from getting in transition. If you can get the rebound, that's one way to stop a team from getting out in transition, is they just don't have the ball. And then it allows you to control the pace. I never expected any team, though, to play this fast versus Golden State and succeed. It seemed to me like it was insane. Yeah, that to me seemed like it was insane. Like, I was watching this, and it was clear that after like the third game, that Golden State needs to play slow versus Oklahoma City. They cannot play fast against this team.
Well, remember that one game when Sacramento tried to outfast them and we were all laughing?
Yeah.
We were on Twitter like, oh, Sacramento, how fucking stupid are they?
Yeah.
You're not going to be faster than Golden State. Oklahoma City's faster.
They're faster and they're stronger and they're better to get to every loose ball. And it's interesting because all of the turnovers and all of the miscues and all the bad possessions, like all the missed layups that they had, all the stuff that you were like, oh, like there's still like people on Twitter that are like, oh, well, Golden State should be making these shots. These are just shots that should go in. And a lot of it is just them trying to force something fast, because in the half court, they're not able to get open. They're not able to really get things going, and they're not able to even get any separation in transition. So
it reminds me, I tweeted this last night, it reminds me of the 2004 finals.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing.
And I don't think the Pistons were as good as they were in those last two rounds, but they could smell it. And they just went to another level, and the cohesion they had, and athletically.
And they just got every ball.
Yeah, they just got everything. And they were just like, we're going to bully you guys, and we're just getting everything, and you're not going to beat us.
Yeah.
And that started for OKC, I felt like, in the fourth quarter of Game 4. Mm-hmm. Carried over in this series. Game 2, once they fell behind, they just kind of relaxed, and they started to look like the OKC, kind of like, guys standing around, one-on-one, all the stuff that was driving us crazy. Those two games were so impressive. Golden State was never in those games.
No, not at all. The Yeah.
The last two I'm talking about.
Yeah, not at all.
And the other thing that I don't think people understand, and I only know this because I went to a couple finals games there. It's really hard to play there when the crowd gets into it like that and the team is playing like that. It gets super loud. It almost hurts your head. Like I remember going, I think it was game 3. I had a headache after.
It was that loud, yeah.
Yeah,
I've only been to
They're
one
banging stuff. It's
2
just
games
it's
there.
relentless.
It's loud for sure. I went to a couple games in 2012 in the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, the other thing though is that they haven't won yet. They're up 3-1.
Well, that's why I want to talk about this.
Yeah. There's some things Golden State could do for sure.
I agree. And it's not like OKC, they're killing them on the boards. Their defense has been great. Durant's only played 1 good game out of 4, right? Yeah. Westbrook his athleticism in 3 and 4 were incredible, but
I mean,
Durant's
what do you mean by good? You mean offensively?
Yeah, Durant's missing. It's not like he's been just lighting it up and shooting 60% from the field. He's been great two-way.
Yeah, he's been amazing defensively.
On the other end, that's the part I always wanted from him, to watch him rebound and protect the rim and just kind of embrace being the 4. But so part of me is like, OKC can actually play better than this, which is scary. And the
I
other
think
part
it's hard
of me,
to play both sides though. Like I think what you just said, he's played defensively like he's never played before.
So,
and now
he's going to lose something on the
and
other
that's what
end.
you're seeing with Curry.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, Curry's injured. He has to be hurt. I don't think he's hurt. I just think he's guarding Westbrook for like 25 minutes a night. And it's tiring the shit out of him. He's
possible.
And if you look at how many rebounds, defensive rebounds, Curry has to go back and help on every single defensive rebound because Green's trying to hold down Adams and Westbrook is like crashing every board trying to get a rebound and Curry's got to box him out. That's tiring. I mean, that has to be tiring. And you can see it. And then on the other end, they're switching everything. So if they run a pick and now he's got past that guy, oh no, he's got another guy to get past who's taller than the previous guy was guarding him. And so I think it is tough so for Durant, I think like it's going to be tough to see a player have like a great game defensively and a great game offensively
in the same game.
Yeah, because it's just
only LeBron can do that.
Yeah, and then maybe like, Durant could do it for sure, but I think he's played really good on offense. If you look at the types of shots he's had, like he's having to carry,
been really good.
Yeah, he's going to carry the offensive load. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to shoot 60% in a game just because they're throwing 2 guys at him every time.
My point was like Westbrook was 4 for 8 from 3 in game 4. That's not happening again in this series. Like he's a terrible 3-point shooter who just happens to be making a
he's
decent
running
amount
hot.
of them.
Yeah,
he's right. Waiters is another one. He's hot and cold. Robertson is definitely hot and cold. Ibaka's hot and cold. A lot of those guys.
That can go quick.
That can go away in game 5, and all of a sudden everyone's going one-on-one again, and people are standing around. I think what bodes really well for them is the same reason why I thought this series was going to go 7. The rebounding is a huge thing.
Yeah.
That game, the key, I was like looking at what happened during this season. I don't think you can learn everything, but there's a couple things you can take away. And for them to be plus 30 rebounding in a game against Golden State, to me, was a huge red flag for Golden State because I don't think people appreciate Westbrook's not getting 12 rebounds a game, but the pressure that he puts on those offensive rebounds, and then when you have 2 other guys out there who are crashing, it's just something extra you have to worry about. There's nobody like Westbrook.
Yeah. There's no team
when he's in the mode like that.
Yeah, and this has been like I think the best rebounding differential team in recent that I can remember, maybe ever. I don't know. They have a great defensive rebounding ratio and a great offensive rebounding ratio. They're a good rebounding team. And so I think I think some of it is some of the reason why they're really exploiting Golden State the way they are is because Golden State's kind of going to like this gimmick defense where we're gonna put our best player Green on their worst offensive player Roberson, and we're gonna have him be a rover. And how do you box anyone out when you're roving?
Yeah.
And so why are you taking all of these really elaborate steps? And then so you have, it's kind of like they used to call the Kobe assist or the Allen Iverson assist, where these guys would draw double teams and then just chuck it up there, and then guys would go and get the rebound and put it back. That was the Kobe assist. That's kind of what Oklahoma City's doing in some ways, because Westbrook and Durant, when they have the ball, are always getting 2 players. And so now the other players, there's an odd man rebounding situation where, especially when the player who's roving is your best defensive rebounder in Green, he's the 5 when they go to the death lineup, and now he's roving. Who the fuck's going to get the rebound?
Well, and especially if Ibaka isn't just happy standing 25 feet
Yeah.
from the basket like he did most of the season. And
Yeah.
now he's actually running in for rebounds.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like this sea of arms all the time
There,
around
that's
the
the thing
rim.
that's really that got me in the Spurs game is in the Spurs series was just like it looked like the Spurs would run that weave, and they just weren't ever getting. Like, there's a couple weave possessions they ran where they just ran the weave and just
Nothing was happening.
not only did nothing happen,
Yeah.
but it looked like they were going backwards.
Yeah.
Because they just had one more guy with big arms was there, so it's interesting. It's fun to watch.
A lot of times with hoops, and it's not all the time, but it's most of the time, I do feel like these games are decided in the 6 feet around the rim.
Sure.
And, you go back through series by series by series. I don't think last year's Golden State Cleveland was like that as much because Cleveland, let's be honest, like that was a really
Well, that was a
depleted
grinded
team.
out, slow.
Yeah, that was
methodical.
just I'd thrown that series out. It was just too weird. They were playing a certain style that was a gimmick, and Golden State
Caveman
figured
ball.
it out. Yeah, but for the most part, if you're just gonna lose those 6 feet like Golden State has in those first 4 games, now you have to just shoot the lights out.
From
That's
3.
gonna be your only chance, and they've shot like shit.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't know what the explanation is for Curry, and I don't know if his knee's bugging him a little bit. It seemed fine in game 2. And I think we would have noticed in game 3 or game 4 if he tweaked it or something.
He wouldn't
weird
be
happened.
guarding Westbrook if he couldn't move like that. Everyone's like, look at Curry, he's laboring, he can't move, but he's staying in front of Westbrook a lot.
To me, he looks psyched out, which is a different
mean-
thing than being hurt.
I mean, he's just missing shots. Like, sometimes people just miss shots, and then everyone, gamblers, me, you, they look and they're like, they try to find a reason for it. Like, oh my, what is it?
must
Is
be
he
hurt.
psyched out? He's hurt. He's not feeling the pressure. But sometimes the ball just doesn't go in, and then maybe you start feeding on that a little bit, and it definitely
Start
happens when you're
pressing.
making shots where you start where you start feeling a little bit better about yourself, and then everything becomes a lot purer, and the shot becomes a lot purer. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not writing the team off just because I think there's lots of simple things that they could do to make adjustments. For one thing, I would not be if their goal is to play Ezeli minutes. He needs to play the start of quarters, not the end of quarters, because when he plays the end of quarters, they're in the bonus and they're hacking him. So that's a very simple thing they could do. If they're saying they want to play Ezeli, they're playing Ezeli. So do you need to start Bogut in that? Like, do you have to start Bogut then? Can you not start Ezeli because of that? Or can you at least bring Ezeli in earlier versus bring him at the end of quarters when they're just hacking him all the time? That seems like a pretty easy adjustment to make, right?
Let's hold this thought
Okay.
because I want to
Sorry.
talk about our friends at 5-4 Club. You might be busy like me and Bob here.
Very busy.
You might be launching a TV show and a website in the same month. You don't have any time to shop. You might be doing all the stuff you do during the NBA playoffs, which is like your sweet spot in life. Whether it's for the office, the club, your daughter's 2-day soccer tournament, a dinner event, it doesn't matter. You just might not have time, or you might be lazy as hell. Either way, if you hate shopping, 5-4 Club has you covered. They provide styling advice and recommendations. They'll make you a styling profile. They'll deliver clothes to your door every month in 4 style profiles: classic, casual, forward, and mix. Free shopping, direct delivery to your doorstep. Clothes come every month or so. It's only $60 a month. Go to 5-4 Club and use promo code BS at sign up. Get 50% off your first package. $120 worth of clothing for $30 for your first month package. I actually wore a green jacket they sent, and my daughter said, "Wow, that's a nice jacket. Where'd you get that?" Like, she was surprised I purchased something that she liked.
There
And
you
that
go.
That was the 5-4 Club. All right, back to the Golden State. So one of the reasons I bet on this series to go 7. I don't
Okay.
think I told you that.
No.
I thought it was going to go 7. I really believed it in my heart. And I thought OKC actually had a chance maybe to win in 7. And the reason was because I thought this series for Draymond worried me, because you can play that lineup of death. You can do that whole thing. But ultimately, when the other team's crashing the boards like that, and if they're going to play him big minutes just trying to fend people off,
Yeah, it's tiring.
I thought it was going to affect him. I didn't think it was going to affect him this soon. He was 2 for 16 in the last 2 games. But somebody at the Warriors who I was talking to before the series was telling me, like, we need Bogut. And I'm thinking, like, that's not a great sign. Like Bogut at this point in his career, I don't know if that's the guy you can count on. Like, if they're if you're counting on Bogut and Ezeli to really win this series for you, that worries me. And that's why I just thought it was a bad matchup for them. Do they have to play Bogut and Ezeli more? You said that you'd play Ezeli more in the beginning. Like, what would you do?
Yeah,
How would
I
you
would play
structure the
those.
minutes?
You have to play those guys, especially when Adams is out there. I mean, look, I would just play my vanilla defense, the defense that I've played most of the year. I would not try this rover strategy that they tried in the playoffs last year that worked versus Memphis, but Memphis didn't have a player who could cut off the basket. Like Roberson can cut. You look, how many baskets did Roberson get yesterday where he was cutting off the basket, making a cut to the basket, cutting off his man, or just had nobody guarding him and went in and got an uncontested rebound and put it back because there was nobody guarding him because they were roving.
That
right?
was the old Tony Allen.
Yeah.
That's when Tony Allen kind of figured out how to do that. His career took off.
Yeah, so I would say that I would just play vanilla. You do have to play big. I don't think their death lineup is going to be like a lineup they can play for 20, 25 minutes a night anyways. I would play slow. They don't need to play fast. They're a better executing team in the half court. They run better sets. They have better plays. They have better bigs who can pass. You know, Bogut may not be in the player he was before, like you said, but he still is a good ball. He still sets great screens. He still makes good passes. He makes good passes to players who are cutting off the basket. They can run a lot of misdirection. They need to ball fake a little bit for this team who's overplaying every passing lane.
Yeah.
Make them pay a little bit for that.
Well, they've been sloppy all year, and you definitely saw it yesterday. It was just lazy passes, all that stuff.
They've always been a team that has made, they've always passed the ball around and tossed it around, had some turnovers, but you can't turn it over again. Like you can turn it over against the Grizzlies. You can turn it over against the Cavs. You can turn it over against even the Spurs. You're not turning it over against a team that has Westbrook out there on the floor because that's just 2 points fast down your throat immediately as soon as you turn it over.
Well, you've been following this stuff forever. You can look at this one of two ways. Like I watched a ton of Golden State this year. Whenever they were in a position like they were last night, either Draymond just went to another level and just had one of those alpha dog Draymond games, or Clay and Curry got hot, or one of them got hot, or somebody started making threes.
Clay got hot yesterday.
Clay
He scored
got hot
19
yesterday.
straight points for the team.
Yeah, and OKC survived it. That was a really bad sign.
Yeah.
The Draymond alpha dog thing, I don't think is happening in this series. There's just too many big bodies. So that leaves Curry.
Yeah.
And you saw Curry in game 2. It was just like, I'm winning this game right now. And he just went on one of those Curry runs, and that was it. The difference this time with this team that they're playing, there's just no fear at all. I honestly think Westbrook believes he's better than Steph Curry, and he's playing like it pisses him off.
Yeah.
I think Chris Paul does the same thing. I look at Steph Curry, and they're like, really? You guys are saying this guy's better than Jordan? Like, I'm better than this guy right now, and that's how he plays. I'm not saying it's true or not true.
No, right. I mean, it's definitely not true.
He believes it.
Yeah. I mean, look, he should believe it. All these guys are really fucking amazing athletes. They're the best in the world at what they do. And if he wants to think he's better than Steph Curry, that's great. And I don't think there's anyone who could say that he's not and have actually. I mean, look, Curry's a great player. There's things Westbrook can do that Curry can't do. And there's obviously things Curry can do that Westbrook or no one else in the world can do.
He destroyed him in those 2 games. I mean, that
but
was
it's
like
2
a
games.
10-8 boxing round. Yeah,
but it's 2 games.
Now Curry's got to get back.
And he's got to get back, yeah. And, I think that there's things they can do to get him going a little bit. It's a lot different. I'd like to see this Oklahoma City team. They scored 72 points or 74 points in 2 straight games in the first half.
Yeah, that's
some ridiculous number.
Unusual. It hasn't happened in 29 years.
Yeah, and so I would it's going to be different. They have to win one more game, and they have 1 game at home to do so. So if Golden State wins the next game, it's 3-2. That's a lot of pressure on Oklahoma City. It's a lot of pressure on Golden State too, of course. But I think this is the game that can kind of turn the series a little bit for Golden State, where if Golden State can just win this game at home, now they're in a situation where I don't think Oklahoma City wants to go back to Golden State for a game 7. So there's a lot of pressure in some ways.
Tate and I were talking before we started this. I was saying 35 years ago, the 81 Celtics, and we had season tickets, so I went to all these games. They're down 3-1 to Philly, come back game 5, win game 6 in Philly, win game 7. One of the great 3-game sequences in the history of the league. But the difference that time around, that series was close every game.
Yeah, this one has not been.
This was 2 blowouts, and that would be what worries me. And that's why
Golden State blew them out once at home as well.
Yeah, OKC kind of once that game was out of control, they punted it. You could see it.
Yeah,
that's why I'm not too worried about that. But
there's a big like compounding effect of like everything that happens in this, like with this matchup, where when Golden State misses a shot, Oklahoma City's way more likely to score on the next ensuing possession.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot happens when Golden State makes shots, and a lot it changes things. Now you're not looking at Westbrook fast breaking it because they got to take the ball out of the basket.
Yeah.
And so it really, I mean, this sounds like, I feel like Barkley or something when I say this, but it really comes down to making shots for Golden State.
And
and
it's a seesaw. Yeah. You make a shot, you score, and they can't fast break.
Tough, yeah.
It's a 4-point
Oklahoma
swing.
City hasn't, aside from we're going to clear out and have Westbrook like just attack and then have someone cut to the basket, which by the way is a pretty fucking good play. And the offensive rebound, and they haven't really had a lot of success in the half court off of makes or off of dead ball possessions versus Golden State. So this is a question of like, okay, this Golden State team talked about themselves as being the most advanced, the most intelligent, the most light years ahead franchise in the history of the NBA.
Yeah, big mistake.
Yeah, and I think so now it's like, okay, so you believe this, and maybe they have the right to believe this. Now let's see how you react. What are you going to do? Is your coach going to make the right adjustments? Are you going to be able to do something to stem this? Can you maybe go a half without giving up 74 points? That would be nice. First half, see if they can do that. And that's why playoff basketball to me is like the greatest ever. I mean, this is exciting. It was shit in the first round.
Can you imagine how much fun we'd be having if we bet OKC 4-1 before the playoffs?
Be having fun.
Can I ask you a question? This is important. The last time you were on the podcast, you said there was a way to beat Golden State, but you wouldn't tell us what it was.
I feel like
now OKC's up 3-1. I think you can tell us.
But I just feel
you
like
had
it's
a secret sauce. You wouldn't spill it.
But I think it'd be like pretty lame for me to be like, oh yes.
No.
Either way, that's what I said. Like, I just feel like if I didn't tell you before, I don't think it's okay to say it now. Like, basically, I just think it'd be like. So they're doing some of the things. Like, basically, I thought there's 3 things that you needed to do to beat this team.
Let's hear them.
I could say the one thing that I did not think was play fast.
That was not on your list?
That was not in the recipe for sure. That was actually, I wanted teams to play really slow. But definitely crashing the glass against them was definitely a pretty big component of it. This team switches everything. This team being Golden State, they switch everything. They play small. They play this death lineup. And they want to run off of misses. And I think teams just were so concerned with getting back in transition versus them that they just completely punted all offensive rebounds and completely ignored it. And I think that's a big mistake versus this team. You can beat this team.
So the OKC, the 62-32 rebounding game that Curry made the 35-footer to win it, you felt like there were weird lessons in there.
Yeah, that's something that I felt like the Spurs could capitalize on this because the Spurs are big. I felt like Oklahoma City could capitalize on it. And I felt like just any team that decided they wanted, like a lot of teams are like, oh, we need to match up and go small with to match up with Golden State. But if you look at how Oklahoma City's going small to match up, it's with a 6'10" super freak with the longest arms I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So they're not really going small.
Who's playing about as well on both ends as he's ever played.
And they have the best rebounding point guard in the NBA. So they're really going small? It's interesting. They are, because they're taking out their huge big lineup. But yeah, so that was a big component of it for sure. This crashing the boards, really making them pay for these switches. And then there's like some other types of offensive stuff that I would have wanted teams to do, and I don't know. It seems like I said it's a little disingenuous for me to say now after a team is already having success, because I could just make
it's not up. Disingenuous. I knew you'd give an honest answer.
Yeah.
Here's another question that I want an honest answer for. You're starting a team. Would you rather have Steven Adams or James Harden?
I'll take Harden.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's an argument now.
Yeah,
and I think I've probably written more words about how bad the Harden trade was than anyone with a platform.
Right.
And
the Harden trade still was bad.
It still was bad. He was the number 2 MVP last year. Yeah. That's bad. But Adams has saved that from being one of the worst NBA trades ever.
But people always, it was a draft pick. It wasn't Steven Adams. You can buy those.
So you're saying it could have been Kelly Olynyk.
It could have been, yeah, or you could buy I mean, for a while, Robert Sarver was just selling those Steven Adams draft picks. I mean,
right.
you could get those without having to give up James Harden, would be my point. It's kind of like the Gasol trade. Everyone talks about the Gasol trade, like, oh, people thought it was such a bad trade, but look at Marc Gasol. Yeah, Marc Gasol was a throw-in in that trade. You can't take like a situation where a player that nobody in the league values and you could get for basically nothing. And then it's not like Presti was like, okay, we're going to make the trade because there's a guy in New Zealand. and I want to get one more bullet in my gun for this draft pick.
Yeah.
It wasn't, they could have gotten a draft pick another way without giving up James Harden if they wanted to. If their owners weren't
These are all great points.
so cheap, they could
I
have
still
bought a
love
draft
Steven
pick.
Adams.
Yeah. So would you, I mean, this trade is still bad because of that, for sure.
Okay.
And they could have had both if they really were smart. I mean, they
They could have got another year of Harden, then made the same trade.
or
basically.
they could have just like traded someone for a draft pick
Yeah.
or bought one.
Golden State kind of was the new era team.
I love how this is an entire podcast on one series. It's so great.
No, we're switching in a second.
Okay.
Basketball Twitter, Golden State, this was Nirvana. This is where basketball's going.
Yeah. I
And
never
now-
really bought that though.
Well, now OKC's doing bully ball, and they just have great players, and they're probably going to win
Yeah.
this series.
I never
So-
thought it would be Oklahoma City, but I thought the Spurs could beat Golden State. I probably would have been betting the Spurs in every game versus Golden State. I don't think the Spurs could really score against Golden State, which was a problem, but I didn't think that Golden State was going to just go in and just completely crush the Spurs. I thought that was a series that maybe they wouldn't win the series, but you could make money by betting because you'd be getting the games they lose. I feel like San Antonio would have covered. They would have been getting 8 points, 7 points, 6 points, and probably losing by less than that.
So you think the Spurs are watching this series going, what's their takeaway like that they should have done in round 2 as they watch this? What would they have done differently? Just gone bigger the whole time, crashed the boards, not worried about.
No, they should have. They should have tried to attack Cantor more, and then I think they would have had a better. The Spurs probably weren't going to win the series, but it's just interesting. Like what they should have done is they should have tried to generate better looks on offense in some ways, and maybe that's just hard. But if you look at like the first game they crushed them, they were all mid-range shots.
Yeah.
That was like their big thing, the mid-range. And they continued that for the entire series. And it's kind of like if you only look, this is the crazy thing. If you only looked at this year's playoffs and you were evaluating coaches and you didn't know anything about what happened, you just
Pop wouldn't come
you
out
would
well.
think, yeah, you'd think Popovich, you'd be calling him like some triangle moron, like who's taking, like, you'd think he's the guy, he's like Whitman. Just look, they had the most long twos of any team in the playoffs. And they also had it in the regular season too.
I thought he did some really strange things in that series. And coaching's really hard. I think we're probably way too hard on coaches.
What else are we
in
going
the
to be hard on?
moment.
We're not going to be like, oh, I want to be Russell Westbrook because look, I can do that too. I can do a turnaround jumper
Yeah,
better than Russell Westbrook. But you can sit on a bench and think you can coach. It's reasonable to think you can coach.
Well, the
it's
other
probably
thing-
not true, but it's reasonable to think that.
I do think the announcers don't ever talk about coaching, so there is a void for us to talk about it because, I love Van Gundy, and he's a great guy. I think it's crazy how much time he spends talking about the refs versus not talking about coaches.
Well, he's in the
To me,
coaching
it's-
fraternity.
Well, I
He'll
know.
never say a bad thing about it.
Right, and so is Mark Jackson. But when you're watching these games and they're just refusing to talk about coaching decisions and coaching mistakes and all that stuff, but every referee thing is just dissected to the T.
I think Van Gundy does talk about like, I would do this maybe, or they should look at this, or you can't do that, or I think they do a little bit of it.
But they would never criticize Popovich during that series. No way.
But it's hard. I wouldn't even criticize Popovich. Neither would you. I mean, it's just like.
Oh, I would.
But
Because
if you look
they cost me money, so I'm not
okay, yeah, then that's maybe I would too if they right. If they cost me money, I probably would
10-1,
too.
I had them.
Sure,
And we could add OKC 40-1. It could have been our greatest combined bet we ever did.
that would have been a good one.
If San Antonio and Golden State weren't winning the title, I would have. It would have. Then it's okay. There were only 4 teams that could win the title.
Yeah.
I still don't believe Toronto can win the title. I'm sorry,
No, Toronto's not winning the title.
Actually, let's talk about that series in a second. But we gotta pay homage. Hold on.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the Cavs series in 1 second, but a quick break to talk about our friends at Sling TV. I really hope you haven't spent the NBA playoffs figuring out which one of your friends will invite you over to watch games, or saving up to spend a wad of cash on drinks so you can watch at a sports bar. Do you do that, Tate? Oh, Tate's nodding. And I really hope you haven't been wasting hours every night looking for a shady live stream, because there's a better, cheaper option. It's Sling TV. It's the best way to watch live TV on your turf. $20 a month, you get more than 20 live channels, including ESPN and TNT for the NBA playoffs, plus your favorite entertainment and news, a whole bunch of great channels. You can even add channel packs like Sports Extra package for just $5 a month extra. No installation, no extra gear, no annual contracts, and an easy online cancellation. You just need an internet connection and you're ready to go. Start watching for 7 days free at sling.com/Simmons and get Sling TV. on your favorite device. Restrictions do apply. All right.
I use Sling TV.
Yeah, Sling TV's great.
I do. When I travel, it works pretty good.
Cavs, Raptors. Is there any way LeBron... All right, let's say that there's 3 more games in this series. I'm going to say LeBron has 78 field goal attempts or free throw attempts in those 3 games. There's no way they're not having the Cavs in the finals. They're going to do whatever. LeBron, it's like if you look at him cross-eyed, probably a flagrant one.
I don't think they do that anymore.
You just have to stare at him for 2 seconds. It's a flagrant one.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's going to put his head down and go to the basket, and they're going to call fouls. And that's how this is going to go because we're not ending up with Oklahoma City, Toronto.
That would be something.
Then LeBron is like Shaq. It's like every play could be a foul. Every time he goes to the basket, it could be a foul, it could be a charge. Like it's just, it's however you want to interpret it. So I think LeBron I think he has 40 points and shoots 25 free throws.
I mean, look,
5.
they're I think 11 or 10 and a half point favorites tonight. So it's not like they're not expected to win. So I don't think it would be fair to say that they're supposed to draw fouls. I mean, LeBron's a great foul drawer. I don't know. I'm not really big on the league wants this team.
I know. I
used to be that way, and I think that was a reasonable way to believe things because I don't think David Stern was the most honorable person to ever be a commissioner of a sports league. You know. I could be wrong.
I don't think in the Adam Silver era, I don't think they care about this stuff, but I do think what happens is the coaches start sending the stuff to the league, and the league tells the refs like, "Hey, watch out for this. Watch out for this."
Can someone send a memo to the league for Dwayne Casey being on the court, clapping his hands in the ears of players shooting 3-pointers? Can they do that?
Yeah, that's one of your pet peeves.
I hate that more than anything.
The coaches and the 12th men interfering with the action.
So Bush League.
So here's why I think you can't just pencil Cleveland into the next round. They're not very good defensively.
No, they have
a lot of like below average defensive players.
They have no rim protection whatsoever. And that's where I think the light went off for Toronto, and we're like, wow, we can actually just drive and kick and drive and kick and then just kick and drive. And
do you think
you
could score 20 points on Kyrie Irving?
No.
Could you get to 15?
Be able to. What?
I think 5 years ago I could have taken him off the dribble at least once.
No. I could. I'm not sure what I could beat him at, but it wouldn't be anything involving basketball.
I've never seen anybody less interested in even being a passable defender at point guard. He's just not interested.
I don't know if it's not interested.
It's like I didn't sign up for this. I'm here to shoot threes. I'm not interested in defense.
Yeah.
Thanks anyway. I'm gonna make a token attempt to cut over this pick and roll here.
Yeah, he's not ever really engaged on defense, and it doesn't look like he should be a bad defender. If you looked at him, he doesn't look like he should be a bad defender.
FYI, Russell Westbrook really wasn't playing defense that much all season.
Right.
He kind of was occasionally interested in it, and now he's playing out of his mind. But in the Spurs series, like he was just taking entire quarters off. He wasn't even trying.
He does that though sometimes. It's weird. I don't know if it's a case of him taking plays off or his mind starts working in a weird way where he gets his chip on his shoulder. I don't know.
Maybe that's how he rests because he's
Possible.
an alien.
Yeah.
But Zach did a good job of pointing out when Love and Kyrie are together, the Raptors just figured out like, this is great. Let's take advantage of these two guys.
It's amazing.
Who are they guarding? Oh, it's all right. Well, you guys, and then everyone's just taking turns torching them.
That's where LeBron has to be if he wants to go down as being one of the greats of all time, which he is obviously. But that's where if he wants to have another run at it, he's got to bring it upon himself to be the rim protector because it's not going to be Tristan Thompson. It's not going to be Mozgov. It's not going to be Channing Frye. It could be Channing Frye. He's not a bad defender.
Yeah, but you can't play Channing Frye with Kyrie, with J.R. Smith, with Richard Jefferson. Like at some point, you're just not
with Richard
get
Jefferson.
Points.
Yeah,
you're just gonna give up points every time.
Yeah.
Frye was a nice little wrinkle for them, and then he stuck with it. I thought the last 4 minutes of his coaching in Game 4, Ty Lue.
Oh, Ty Lue
was among the worst 4-minute stretches anyone's had in the playoffs. It was really bad.
Yeah, it's interesting though because I do think a lot of coaching is just how hard do the players want to play for you. That's a lot of coaching.
True. You're seeing it now with OKC,
and you see it with the Cavs though too. I mean, the Cavs didn't like playing for Blatt for whatever reason, and maybe it's that that meeting that Blatt conducted with LeBron where Blatt was naked except for wearing a towel. Or he said, did you read about this? Where he called him into his office and Blatt had just gotten out of the shower and called him into his office and just had like a towel draped around his body. He was soaking wet and they just sat there and had a conversation. And LeBron's like, that man's only wearing a towel.
Sounds like Basic Instinct.
Yeah, it was a little weird. So I don't know. It was just, there's a disconnect. I feel like the players don't have that same disconnect with Ty Lue. So they're playing a little bit harder. That team is,
At the same time, it's kind of it's a roster that doesn't make sense, and they made it work the best they can make it work. But really, LeBron is a power forward at this point in his life.
yeah.
The same way OKC has thrived with Durant at the 4 in this round 3. I like when LeBron plays the 4 and they spread him out, and now you need a rim protector with that, and yet they just have 3 other power forwards.
Yeah, and then Tristan Thompson is just undersized. He's like Draymond Green without Draymond Green's, like in terms of size. He's about Draymond Green's size, and not as big. Just he's not very tall.
And he makes sense in certain series, but then you put him with Biyombo, and Biyombo is just gonna do better than him because Biyombo is out of his mind right now.
Yeah,
and is kind of the Tristan Thompson kryptonite.
So you said the worst 4 minutes you ever seen a coach.
No, not ever. I thought it ranked among the worst stretches.
So for me, it was, I don't know if it was game 3 or I believe the game that went to overtime when the Raptors were up 7 before it went to overtime. The game ended up going to overtime. Miami won in overtime, but the Raptors were up 7 with about 5 minutes left. And Miami went small with Winslow at the 5. And KC was like, okay, we need to go small. And he took out Biyombo. And basically Miami's entire offense revolved around getting rebounds, getting to the paint, getting layups. And they came back and won the game in overtime. I thought that was a really poor decision. But the great thing about KC has been this year is like, even if you want to say every first instinct he's had has been wrong, which I think you could maybe make that argument, every second instinct he's had, he's been so quick to make the adjustment and fix it. So it's kind of cool.
Frank Vogel lost his job for one of the worst stretches of the playoffs. That I really think Game 5. I think Larry Bird watched Game 5 when they blew that big lead and they didn't make any adjustments as Toronto came back.
Right.
Toronto. I think Larry Bird was like, I can't watch this anymore. I just want another coach. Give me any other coach.
He's gonna experience what that roster is really, because the Toronto was so much better. The talent on Toronto's team is so much better than the Pacers, that for them to even be able to compete in that spot was a combination of nerves from Toronto and poor shooting from DeRozan and Lowry and just, I think, game plan from Vogel. I think they did a pretty good job of game planning. I mean, he went to his bench too much. I like Vogel too. I think Vogel in Orlando is going to be, that team is going to be fun to watch. They're going to be exciting. They're not going to compete for anything for a while, but he's a good coach. There's lots of coaches who are really, really good.
Yeah.
And then there's coaches who I think are like not good, terrible. And then the rest are kind of like in the middle. And he's above
Vogel
in the
to
middle.
go to Houston because offensively, I was never that impressed with him, but Harden could just handle the offense, and Vogel's good at all the other stuff. But Orlando will be fun because we've never really seen him with creators.
No. Who is Houston going to hire as a coach? This is the most ridiculous thing ever.
There's a lot of Mike D'Antoni buzz.
I mean, no, there is, but it's just like I'm reading they want to interview like the James Borrego, who basically...
Yeah, you weren't a fan of his.
He wasn't he's not... I mean, I'm sure he could be good. I don't know, but he wasn't, as an interim, he wasn't very good in Orlando. Didn't really seem like, he doesn't look like he's got the gravitas of the team. He's not really making the players play. It's interesting. I just think like, this is do you think, so my question is, do you think James Harden's going to look at whoever the coach is and be like, they need to have someone who's basically going to tell James Harden or whoever else they decide if they get rid of Dwight Howard. They need a coach who actually is going to command presence in the locker room, and maybe that's Borrego, maybe it's Steven Silas, maybe it's I guess Steven Silas is out of the running now.
I wouldn't want that job. I was so happy Tibbs, he picked the right team. It was the smart pick. It's going to Minnesota. It's like you can build something.
And he gets to be the president of basketball operations.
Yeah, he's in charge of who's running it.
God.
What an unbelievable gig.
Yeah. What a spot.
Towns. I think Wiggins. I'm not sure if Wiggins is the number 2, but he could be your third best guy in a title team.
Yeah.
And you have the chance to build something. You got another lottery pick. You're going to have cap space. And I really believe in Towns. I think.
Yeah,
I love
could you
Towns.
Not? Towns had probably the best rookie season. I mean,
oh my God.
There's like, if you were starting a franchise from scratch, and
Towns is in the conversation.
Yeah, of course.
Would you rather have Towns or Davis?
I'd rather have Towns.
I think I'd rather have Towns too because he's younger.
He's
Davis
just not
has been
injury, not as
banged up.
injury
Yeah,
prone,
Davis
and he's
had
just
a lot of injuries.
He's just more natural. He has like a more natural fit in the league. Towns is just a natural center. Like Towns is already doing the things that everyone says that Anthony Davis needs to develop. Like in terms of Davis needs to develop his jump shot. He needs to develop. Towns already has all that. He already has all the polish. He's more skilled. He's not as as freakish in terms of nobody is, but I'll take the guy who's. I mean, I think Towns could be like have a very Tim Duncan like career with like way more offensive polish.
I was gonna say like C-Web with the Tim Duncan DNA a little bit.
Yeah,
that would be he's very C-Webby sometimes.
He's just, and then you just hear him talk. He's
great.
He's like 19 going on 35. He's more
Great
mature than
guy.
I am, and I'm 40.
Yeah, that he'll be there. He'll be there for 20 years, and I hope you and I are both big Tibbs fans. I can't wait to see him. I thought he did miracles with that Chicago team.
Yeah.
Remember that he almost won a playoff series. Did he win the playoff series with Nate Robinson, or they lost in 7? I can't even remember.
Versus who?
Remember that? It was the Bulls net series when Nate Robinson was the Bulls crunch time guy, and they almost won.
I think they.
I think they ended up losing in 7. But
yeah.
All right, wait. Back to Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland wins the title. I think whoever comes out of OKC Golden State, I think the whoever comes out of the West is just going to win. I don't believe in Cleveland. I don't think they're good enough defensively. I think it would be really strange.
They'd have to shoot the way they shot versus Atlanta. Maybe not that good because that was otherworldly good.
Right,
three.
that's your scenario. They make 17 threes a game. I don't think it's realistic.
Yeah, I mean, they have the guys who can make them, and they're definitely open shots that they're getting. They're not. I mean, it's possible, but yeah, they would need to have a superhuman performance from LeBron,
who doesn't make jump shots anymore,
who really only scores in the paint.
Yeah. Who? Remember that year when the second Miami title year when he was just he was like 60% from the field for most of the season. It was like he'd moved to this higher level of basketball where every shot he took, he wanted to be a high percentage shot that went in, and he was at, I don't know, 61% in February or something, and people are like, "Oh my God, what's happening?"
Yeah,
this guy's a higher species. That guy, it's year 13. He's not the same guy, but he's 90% the same guy.
Yeah,
and he's still able to play 46, 47 minutes in a playoff game, and then come back 2 nights later and play 44.
It's
There's
amazing.
never been anyone like this guy.
No, it's amazing. It's I would not. I mean, I would not count. I mean, I would not. The thing about LeBron is the teams that have really beat him in the finals. He's lost a lot in the finals, obviously.
Yeah.
Are teams that he played teams that really game planned really, really effectively against him, did things. I don't see. I don't know. I don't really see a situation where he's going to get to the finals and have like the ability to beat Golden State or Oklahoma City just because they're just way better. The teams are way better. But I'm also not really thinking that if he gets to the finals, it's going to be a complete blowout either. I mean, they competed last year, and he did so with Dellavedova, Tristan Thomas. I don't even remember. Tristan Thompson, sorry. Just a bunch of scrubs. I mean,
and Golden State got super tight in those first couple of games. Draymond, who was on the podcast, even admitted it. They just a moment caught them. And I think that's what happened in Oklahoma City these last 2 games. I think it was a little bit of a
that's possible.
Douglas Tyson / 04 Lakers when the Pistons were just coming, and the Lakers, they win game 2 on the crazy Kobe 3 that goes to overtime, and they win in OT, and they're like, we got this. It's fine. And Detroit was just, they were like Clubber Lang, Rocky 3. Like, they were just ready.
I think the thing that's like key for them is I don't think they ever expect to lose. And so
Golden State.
Yeah. And so when they, and they definitely, after they won game 2, I don't think they ever really expected that now they're going to go into Oklahoma City and just get throttled like that.
Did you see what Curry said after the game? Mm-mm. He was like, we'll be fine. We've been in.
I did see that.
We're a great team. He was like, we're a great team. We're going to respond.
Well, I actually saw that, and I watched all the pressers, and incidentally, the guy who impressed me the most was my favorite coach, Billy Donovan.
Yeah.
But Kerr, if you watch the Kerr presser again, and just watch it with like, does he believe what he's saying? Like, it didn't strike me that he. Like, I think he does. I think like he wants to, but it just felt like there was doubt there. Like, fuck.
Well,
how could there not be doubt? They're down 3-1. I mean,
because he knows that's the 6 feet around the rim they're not controlling, and he knows like even though those Bulls teams which had Luke Longley and Bill Wennington, all those guys. Ultimately, they always controlled that 6 feet just with Jordan and Pippen and Rodman.
Sure.
And just like a wave of just role guys. But they were always able to control that territory, except for the one time in the Orlando series when Shaq and Horace Grant, which the league has now scraped from. There's no, you'll never see those games on Hardwood Classic. But Shaq and Horace Grant just bullied them. Right. And I think he's starting to probably worry that they're just getting bullied.
A little bit. Yeah, for sure. I mean, they are getting bullied, but they can, I mean, look, if they get the types of looks that they have generated all year, they should be able to get good looks against this Oklahoma City team. That is a good defense. They are playing good defensive scheme. They're switching everything. That was like the thing that basically the Spurs did this, like when the game that was like 88-86 or something like that, whatever that game was. They said sort of switch everything. That was like the first team that really had success using that strategy. And then every team that Golden State played for like the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks did that. Minnesota switched everything. Boston switched everything. Teams that never, like Minnesota switched everything not only in that game, but actually made it like their go-to defense for the rest of the season. Like, this defense works. It's like, oh wow, when you can actually incorporate this principles and you have, I mean, Houston does it, but Houston doesn't have the players who can actually switch and then follow through.
They're not awake.
Yeah, but it's interesting. So I think they can get the looks that they need to get. I don't know that they'll win the series. I think that obviously they're right now it's not looking very.
I'm going to Game 5.
Are you really? I thought about it. I looked at
tickets. I feel like there's real history.
What day is that?
It's Thursday night.
What day of the month is it? 27?
No, it's tomorrow.
26.
26, yeah.
I might go to that.
There's real history, man. Like either
who are you going with? Who are you going with?
I'm going in with somebody that works with me here.
Oh, okay. I want to get I don't know if my girlfriend will be back in town by then. She's coming back from some yoga retreat. That would be some
yoga retreat. Yeah. It's real history, man. Like Golden State could just. This is the 18-1 Pats, but even worse because at least the 18-1 Pats made the Super Bowl.
So tomorrow's the 26th.
Yeah. And then if OKC, like this could be the Westbrook Durant, like. If you're the NBA, what story is a better story for you in the finals? I almost feel like it's Westbrook and Durant. These are two of the biggest stars in the league, and they have actually a chance to play LeBron for the title now again.
I don't know. I think whoever comes out of the West is a good story for the league.
Oh, they can't lose.
Cannot lose. Better than the Spurs, actually, for sure.
Can I admit something to you? Mm-hmm. In the third quarter of Game 4 against the Spurs, that was the first time I really allowed myself to think about Durant in Boston.
Oh, really?
They were getting all snippy with each other in the huddles. The body language was just terrible. It just felt like everybody hated Russell Westbrook. Everybody was out for themselves, and I was thinking, like, we might get him. Like, this might be it. Like he might just be like, I'd rather go to the East. Because the East is, I mean,
East
if you're a
superstar,
you want to go to the East.
You don't travel as far.
Yeah, you
get to play the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals.
The Celtics almost won in round 1. We had like 4 guys.
Yeah,
Jared Sullinger taking threes.
Yeah, the East is watered down.
If I was a superstar, I'd be like, I'm going to I got Minnesota coming. I got this Golden State juggernaut. I got Pop. Get me to the East. That's why I'm worried about Miami if Bosch retires and Riley is just so resilient with how he just keeps reinventing that team.
Yeah.
That he's just going to end up with somebody is my fear.
But remember how everyone said the East was so strong this year? On my Twitter, everyone was telling me about how, the West is terrible. The East is where all the teams in the East. Look at the winning records of the teams in the East. I was like, okay, great, awesome. But you really think like Charlotte is going to beat Oklahoma City? Or or the Spurs or Golden State or even
there's
even
really
Utah.
only it comes down to you need a couple of the guys, and that's why the Clippers season was so disappointing because
we forgot about the Clippers.
Yeah, because I thought Blake kind of hit that level last year in the playoffs. I thought he hit that final level for me. Chris was already there, and to not have them in this playoffs, just to remove that team completely, was a bummer.
Yeah,
I would have loved to have seen Chris Paul and Blake Griffin play this Warriors team in round 2 instead of the Blazers. I think they could have beaten them if Curry wasn't healthy, but we'll never know.
No, we'll never. I mean, if Curry wasn't healthy, if Curry was out, there wasn't very many teams in the West that Golden State was going to beat.
I would have sat him for the whole Portland series. They weren't winning that. Portland wasn't winning that series, and I know Curry came back and we had a great moment, but I just don't understand the reason. All right, thanks to Sling TV. Remember, no installation, no extra gear, no annual contracts, no BS. All you need is an internet connection, and you could be watching more than 20 live channels, including the third round of the NBA playoffs on ESPN and TNT. Start your 7-day free trial at sling.com/Simmons for the best of live TV on your favorite device. Restrictions apply. Thanks again to 5-4 Club, a $60 a month high-end clothing membership that will provide you with stylish clothes bound to make you stand out in the crowd. Go to 5-4 Club and use promo code BS at sign up for 50% off your first package. That is $120 worth of clothing for $30 for your first month's package. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter, theringer.com. Thanks to HBO for launching my new TV show, Any Given Wednesday, on June 22nd. And don't forget about our new Ringer MLB show, which you can subscribe to now on iTunes, SoundCloud, everything else. Who are you picking to win the title? Or you can't say?
I don't know.
Yeah, you sway it.
What's that?
You sway. You're always afraid you're going to sway the game in public.
No, I mean, it happens for sure. Especially because I don't know.
We should have bet OKC 40-1.
Probably.
Why didn't we talk this out?
I don't know.
We should talk it out.
When did they? I mean,
it could have been one of our great bets.
Could have been a great one.
We knew they had the talent.
We could have had enough money to go to this game 5, where court sides are going to be like $25,000 because it's Silicon Valley. It's such a joke.
Well, Joe Lacob, I just want to give him a hug if I see him. He's got to regret that story.
I don't think he's the type.
If you were one of the 10 best blackjack players in the world, would you brag about this?
First of all, it's blackjack. There's no best 10 players in the world.
The house
it's
wins in blackjack.
No, but it's not that. It's just like there's like basically the difference between the greatest black player in the world and like someone who knows how to count cards and do like basic strategy. Because you need basic strategy, counting cards, and maybe you want to be really advanced. You can like shuffle track. Like that's like an afternoon course. Like this isn't like any skill this isn't chess. It's not even poker. It's just like there's no such thing as one of the top 10. Anyone has the same talent. Anyone who can fucking count knows how to be a great blackjack player.
With all
it was
that
so
said,
crazy.
I think I'm one of the 10 best drunk blackjack players ever.
Possible.
I think I am. I'd put if there was a drunk blackjack contest, I think I would be in
There's
good
not
shape.
even like a corollary to how stupid that statement is. Like, because it's blackjack. It's like, there's no strategy. It's just like, it's basic. Okay, you need to know when to do this. Okay, great. I learned that. They sell the cards in the gift shops. And then you have to be able to count, which is hard. But once you learn how to do it, my ex-girlfriend learned how to do it she bought a DVD. Yeah. And I would say that she probably would be like,
she's like one of the 15 best blackjack
she's for
players.
sure in the top 20.
Not as good as Joe Lacob.
The top 20 after watching
Poor
a
Joe
DVD.
Lacob. I really believe in karma, and I think it was Chuck and I argued about this on the podcast. I just, when things are going great, don't brag about them to that degree, and don't take credit for Steph Curry, who was already there when you bought the team.
Especially when you have a transcendent player who's like, I mean, this team is a lot of the stuff you said is true. They know how to do this. They know they made the right decisions. They have a great organizational structure. They really embrace analytics. All that stuff is true. They made hard decisions. They got rid of the coach. They got rid of Monte Ellis and got booed. He did lots of things that he should be applauded for. Built this team. They tanked.
Monte Ellis was a ballsy trade. Great tanking job.
They played 5 players for an entire game.
Did you make money on that tanking job?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
So did Cousin Sal and I.
Yeah.
It was great. It was like they need to get to the
dude. They only
7.
played 5 guys for an entire game. I've never seen that happen.
It wasn't as great as Madsen. Madsen's still there.
No, that was the greatest of all time.
I want to do a documentary about the Madsen
That's a
game.
documentary for sure.
Mark Madsen, please shoot threes. That's the only time we've ever seen a team like willingly throw a game. Mark Madsen took like 7 threes.
Yeah.
Right? That's never happened.
Nope.
Teams at least try to fake it. All right, Bob Voulgaris.
Thank you.
We can check you out at Haralabob, one of the best NBA Twitter accounts. And thanks for doing this. I would have kept going, but I have to pee.
Yeah, for sure.
So talk to you later in the week. Thanks for listening.
Anytime y'all want to see me again, rewind this track right here, close your eyes, and picture me rolling.